Hi my loves, and welcome back to my channel. If your vision board is looking a lot like this, it's not going to work. Don't get me wrong, I'm the first person that loves a pretty vision board, as you can see. However, the only reason that I achieved every single one of these things last year was not because of the pretty pictures. It was because of the actionable steps I put in place before I actually made this. So every single time I would look at a specific image on my screen, it would remind me of the micro and macro goals that I had in place. It wasn't just pretty cohesive photos of, oh, I want to go to Africa, I'm just gonna put a photo of Africa in there. Like, it needs to be so much deeper than that in order for you to properly execute 2026. These are the steps that I followed last year, and it was absolutely crazy the difference that it actually made. So number one is reflection. It goes without saying, but it's so important to actually reflect on last year, not necessarily just the positives, but what didn't work out for you? What did you set out at the start of the year? It might be you wanted to be able to run a 10K. Apologies if my eyes keep watering, by the way. I'm currently trying to fight off a cold and just power through. It may have been a goal that you set out in January and then you got busy with kids, you had work priorities. Something might have happened that stopped you from achieving something that was very important to you. Reflect on that. Number two, set time aside. It goes without saying that this is the plan for your entire year. I see so many people making the same mistake of quickly going on Pinterest, oh, I want to go to do X, Y, and Z, and making a vision board in 20, 30 minutes. And do you really think that your entire year deserves 20 or 30 minutes? No. And if you don't have time before the end of the year, that's fine. Do it a few weeks into the new year. This situation, better late than never, is so true. You're so much better in a couple of weeks into January, sitting down properly and really manifesting and mapping out what you want to achieve for the year than rushing it. Number three, do it alone. I know people are gonna hate me for this one, and it's so popular on TikTok especially to be doing these vision board parties. And I'm not saying don't do that. It's such a fun activity to get together and really focus on your goals with your girlfriends. But maybe put things that are not as important to you on there. Say, you know, you want to get a new handbag, or you want to go on a girls trip, little things like that. But the stuff that is so true to you, you have to remember and understand that this is your journey, it's not theirs. And evil eye is real, people. As much as you love your friends, your family, your partner, this is your journey, not theirs. You have to keep something to yourself. And I think that you can go into such a different state of manifestation when you're actually sitting alone and having quiet time. Some people might like to have candles, music, whatever it is to get you in a calm, focused state. For me personally, it's turning my phone completely off, not just on silent. I always light a candle. I have silence typically. I don't have music. I always have a photo of my father, who actually passed a few years ago. I always have a photo of him and me as a baby in front of me, and I feel like that always personally helps me to really focus on not just what goals are important to me, but what goals him, my mum, and little baby Sarah would have been really proud of. So I feel like morally it always keeps me very grounded. Don't get me wrong, I had some materialistic goals last year, like getting a Birkin. Most of my goals are very centered. They're usually career driven, relationship, sentimental kind of goals. And for me personally, that really helps me. So figure out what that is for you. Number four is writing materials. It is so important to write with a pen. I don't care what anyone says. Surely there's studies on this, but for me personally, it doesn't have to be pretty. Just scribble down what is going through your brain. And there's just something so much more connective writing pen on paper as it is when you're typing something on the laptop. Maybe it's something that your brain associates with not being able to rub it out or backspace it. I'm not sure what it is, but oh, I just love a good pen to paper. You need to be physically writing all of this stuff down before you even think about making a pretty vision board. Number five, pillars. This is my favorite, to really then break down all of your goals, bite-sized manageable things to actually focus on for the year. So your pillars, for example, could be travel, career, money. It could be endless. One of mine last year was travel. I took it a little bit too seriously. I felt like we weren't even in Dubai for the whole year. But for example, then travel is one of my pillars. I then broke it down into 4 different goals. Some people say 3, some people say 4. It's whatever you're comfortable with, but don't make this too broad. At the start of the year, you really want to set out and achieve the absolute most. But I think sometimes then it can be too broad that your brain just gets overwhelmed, you get busy, stressed at work, and then you just give up on everything. For me personally, I think it's better to stay to 3 or 4 manageable goals underneath each of your pillars. And then once you have done that, number 7 is identifying blockages. What would stop you from achieving these goals? For example, one of mine, I keep going back to the example of Africa, but that was a really big one for me in 2025. So that was something that was underneath my travel pillar. Blockage for that could be not having the income to be able to travel. So how are you going to ensure that you do have enough income for that? Just breaking it down like that and figuring out what your blockages are. For you, it's posting on social media more, but a blockage for you is self-doubt and fear of what other people might think. Once you have identified that blockage and figure out how you can work on your self-doubt, concern about what other people think, for example. Number 8 is resources. This is a really important one because knowledge is power. Like you're doing right now, you're learning something on YouTube. You don't necessarily have to be a person that loves books. I am blind. I'm the first to put my hand up and say I do not read anywhere near as much books as I know I should. I'm one of those people that usually starts them and doesn't finish. Similar to me, you can do audiobooks, YouTube, TikTok, whatever it is. Work out what your resource is going to be in order to help you achieve these goals. 10 is who can help you and who you need to study. I'm not meaning this in a creepy way. I'm not saying go on Instagram and like death stalk people, giving them the evil eye, like becoming such a hater, but watch what people do. There's going to be someone that's just come to your mind right now that has already achieved one of the goals that you want to achieve. How did they do it? Clues in success always. They might not necessarily share their complete journey, but you can see, for example, obviously I keep going back to the social media one because that's something I really understand. See how often they're posting, what posts are performing for them, how their bio is laid out, what they typically have in their link in their bio, how many stories they do. Just be aware of this stuff and really study the people that are doing better than you, because there will be clues. And I honestly think it's so important to be looking up to people that are doing better than you if you have set goals that you want to achieve. Same within your life. Is there somebody that comes to mind in your life that in a similar career or position as you have traveled to a country that you would really love to travel? Ask them questions. At the end of the day, closed mouths don't get fed. That is my absolute favorite quote. And at the end of the day, what's the worst that's going to happen? Someone's going to be like, oh, I don't feel comfortable telling you. Most people love talking about them. Number 10 is my absolute favorite, and that is deadlines. Get yourself a diary. You can do it on your phone, but again, I'm such an advocate for pen to paper. And then throughout the year, go and write out different deadlines for your goal. Going back to the follower thing, but say you have a goal, oh, have 10,000 followers by June, and your end goal is 50,000 by December. Mark that out in June on a specific date. This is the date that I need to have 10,000 followers. From there, you can do more actionable steps in how you're actually going to achieve those 10,000 followers. Posting every day, whatever that is for you, you'll figure it out. But for me personally, having those deadlines in place really kicks your ass into gear if you've started slipping. Around June, especially for me, I start thinking about more travel, I'm not really working as much, and especially being self-employed, I really struggle with motivation. I'm shocking. But having these deadlines in place has really kicked me up the butt, really made me stay focused on my goals. Every time I look at my vision board, I remember, oh shit, I have a deadline for this. I'm not letting anyone down but myself. So get your ass into gear and work. Number 11, everybody's favorite, you're finally allowed to go to Pinterest and find your cute photos. I know there's been a lot of talk this year on ugly vision boards, and I did try to do a more ugly one this year, but it's still, as a creative, it has still ended up looking quite pretty. But my only advice to you, when you go to Pinterest, try to stay away from being like, oh, there was pink in this photo, so I'm going to go and choose, say money was one of your pillars, this pink money shot, because that looks cohesive. Don't do that. Look at something and go, when I look at this specific image of money, it tells your brain, oh, that's right, pillar 3 was money, and the second goal on that was blah, blah, blah. And it makes you think about that. For example, one of mine last year was champagne glasses laying down on like an overwater villa, and to someone else looking at that, that looks like, you know, you're drinking champagne in an overwater villa. But for me, that signified a certain milestone with work and celebrating, because that would be how Josh and I would always celebrate, lying down cheersing. So every time I would look at that specific photo, it would always remind my brain of, oh, I haven't done so and so in order to achieve that deadline, to be able to celebrate like that. So for you, there'll be certain things that just resonate with you better. My only advice is make sure you choose those. Don't just choose something just because it's cohesive. And this is coming from someone that is an aesthetic girly with all of her little itineraries, and I love making shit on Canva. I love it. Get quotes that mean something to you, put it all together. You can print it out, you can make it into a board if you like. If you can't be bothered with that, you can do it on your laptop. Some people like to put it in their diary. Whatever feels right for you, do that. Don't take everyone else's advice. I'm just sharing these steps with you because personally, last year, that was the first year that I actually implemented these steps, and it was crazy, the difference. I think the year before I maybe achieved 4 things on my vision board, and I just didn't really understand why, and it was just because I wasn't going deep enough into my why and making those actionable steps towards my goals. Hope you guys found this helpful. I know that 2026 is going to be your year. You have got this. Honestly, I know it seems a little bit overwhelming, but it doesn't take that long, and like I said, if you set this time aside now, this is for the whole rest of your year. It deserves more than 20 minutes. So enjoy, and I hope you have the most amazing 2026. Thank you so much for watching.